There's only one word to describe the Canon RF 200-800 F6.3-F9 IS USM Lens, and that is wow. Absolutely wow. Now, I'm not paid or sponsored for this video. Big thanks to Canon Singapore for providing the R3 and the lens. They did twice, by the way, because I had bad weather the first time. These are my thoughts and my thoughts only, all right? I was shocked at this lens. Not just the optical quality, which is really good. The price point at $1,900 thereabouts for a lens that gives you 200 millimeters to 800 millimeters. Yes, it's an F6.3 to F9. I get it. Slower aperture. I'm with you. I always like a faster aperture. But at $1,900, that is one hell of a setup. Now, I was using the R3, which I think for the body size of the R3 matches very well with this lens. By the way, if you have an R5 or another R camera system, definitely get a battery grip or a vertical grip if you want to use this, because it is a hefty lens coming around 2 kgs thereabouts. It's a very long lens as well. And especially when you go out to 800 millimeters, you really feel the length of that lens, okay? This is an external zoom on this. Respectively, for the price point, it has to be. But again, the optics out of this lens are phenomenal. And I like the simplicity on this lens as well. Now, they say the white is a little bit different color than the previous, L-mount kind of telephoto white zoom lenses that Canon has. I believe those are cream. This is kind of like more of a bone white. I didn't really notice until I watched another video and they said that, and I go, oh, that's right. Actually, it is a different color white. Who would have thought? Did it bother me? No, it actually looks good. Anyway, it doesn't have the red ring on it, but okay. No, guys, for the price point and the optics out of this lens, it is a no-brainer. Anyway, let's dive a little bit deeper into this lens. Design-wise, it is a very simple lens. You have 2 switches: autofocus, manual focus, stabilization on or off. Now, in regards to the stabilization, it goes around 7.5 stops thereabouts. I never had any issues with the stabilization with me, be honest with you. I mean, I did use the R3, which is a much larger body than, let's say, the R5 or the various other R camera systems out there, minus the grip, of course. And I found it to be very, very useful. I got a lot of sharp shots. Unlike other super telephoto zoom lenses or telephoto lenses where you have 1, 2, and 3, respectively, depending on, the movement of the lens and the camera body, Canon is saying that the camera body will actually detect your movement and will adjust the stabilization accordingly. I was moving around the bird park, I was at the zoo, and I was doing various different erratic movements at times trying to capture birds in flight, and I had no issues with stabilization whatsoever, so don't worry about that. I actually prefer it this way because, honestly speaking, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm in the moment trying to capture an image of a fast-moving subject, I'm not thinking about should it be on stabilization 1 or 2, I'm just thinking about capturing the image. Maybe that's because I may be more of a novice than some of the professional photographers out there. I get that. But I think a lot of people are probably in the same boat as me. And I like that Canon is simplifying that whole system. And hopefully they continue that going forward, because I think it makes it a lot easier and a lot less things to think about for someone that wants to get into this type of photography to maximize this lens. With that said, there is a ring on the lens that allows you to adjust the tension of how much this camera will zoom in and zoom out. So you can really tighten it up. And you can still move it quite a bit. It's not like it's going to be super tight, but it brings a little bit more tension to it. Or if you're in a situation where you need to go back and forth really quickly from 800 to 300 to 400, depending on the subject that you're shooting, then you can, loosen that up and it's going to move very, very quickly. I tended to use that a lot more for birds in flight, especially smaller birds, because they're quite more erratic and they're not flying so, as slow or so, like say on the horizon. They're moving around, they're doing this. So I was kind of pulling it out as I wanted to. With that said, let's talk about the autofocusing on this. It is quick. I had no issues with autofocus. Did I have some issues where sometimes it would detect the background instead of the subject? Yes. Is that exclusive to Canon? No. I've had it happen to Sony A9 III. I've had it happen to the Nikon Z8, Z9 respectively, and also the R3 with this system. But it is something that you do come across once in a while, especially when you're using longer focal length lenses. All you need to do is, if you have a zoom, you can just, bring it back 300-400 millimeters, get your subject in focus, then zoom back in. It stays on focus, no issues at all. It happened a few times. Not a deal breaker, something I wish was probably improved, but again, this is probably more to do with physics and the way lenses work and cameras work versus the lens itself. But no issues at all. Subject detection, all that worked great with this lens. In terms of the weight, As I mentioned, 2 kgs. It's a big boy. It's a big boy, and it's a long lens. This is a long lens. You need a bag to maximize this lens, okay? So if you think you're gonna put this into some small, street photographer's bag, no, not even a Peak Design bag is gonna hold this. And Peak Design is the everyday backpack, right? You're gonna need a proper, larger camera bag to hold this lens because of the length of it and the size of it. And especially if you wanna attach it to the body, you're gonna wanna have that. So keep that in mind. If you don't have that bag and you wanna get this lens, that might be an additional purchase you're gonna have to think about. Can you use teleconverters on this? The answer is yes, you can. But with F6.3 to F9, you're going to be, F11 and beyond that. And yeah, if you're in bright sunlight, no issues at all. But if you are not, overcast, cloudy day, sunset, yeah, you may not want to use that teleconverter. This lens, you are going to have to work with your ISO a little bit more on this. Now, I did come across a situation when I was in, the rain. It was gloomy. I mean, yes, my ISO was cranked up quite a bit. And, luckily with now the software that we have, all the denoising software, it's not much of an issue. The main thing that you want to, take in mind with any of these lenses is, does it capture enough detail? So when you do use this kind of software, that it will, correct the noise, but at the same time, not lose too much of the detail that you want in your image. And for the most part, I will say I did not have that issue at all with the R3 200-800 combination whatsoever. The R3 with this lens, it resolves more like a 30 plus megapixel camera versus 24. I mean, Canon's always been really good with their optics. And even at this lens, at this price point, it still punches way above its weight class. So not much of an issue. I mean, but the second time I took it out was more of an overcast afternoon day. And my ISO was really good. I had no issues at all with it. And looking at the images that you're seeing throughout this video, I mean, I'm happy with it. Yeah, some of them are corrected, but for the most part, if you can correct it in post and it looks that good, I'm happy. I'm happy. Because nowadays, nobody takes an image right out of camera and goes and posts it online unless you are a professional photographer that needs to get it out to your editor ASAP. But then again, you're going to have the right equipment for your needs because you're probably going to be at a sporting event or a certain event where you actually have all the lenses at your disposal. But for us that are on a budget, like this lens, for example, who probably will fit in that category, you just need to understand your lighting conditions and know when to maximize this lens to its full potential. But I will tell you again, a $1,900 lens at this quality is friggin' phenomenal. The sum of the whole of this lens is that when there's good lighting, optically, put it up to a lens 2-3 times its price, and I bet you most people would not be able to tell that you shot those images with a $1,900 lens. They would not be able to tell it. Yeah, depth of field, maybe in certain situations. But if you're doing wildlife or animal photography or sports photography, and there is ample distance from the background to the subject, you're not going to notice much of a difference, okay? The autofocus on this lens is bang on. It's quick. It's lightning quick. Bird detection, animal detection, people detection, it was there. No issues at all with that. And people are talking about Sigma and Tamron. Why aren't they coming out with full frame, RF lenses? And I believe that's something that Canon's probably some sort of contractual agreement because they're doing APS-C, but not full frame as of yet. I would venture to say that I don't think Sigma nor Tamron could come out with a lens like this at that price point, or even better than this price point to beat Canon. I don't think they could do that. I really don't. This is a very, very interesting move from Canon, and I applaud them for it because Canon has got a lot of feedback over the past couple of years of making lenses that are just too expensive. Not everybody can afford, and that frustrates the user base out there, and they're relying on the EF lenses because they're less expensive. This gives you a lot of reach, great optical quality, stabilization at a price point that is very affordable for those who want to get into this type of photography that's going to maximize 200 to 800 respectively. That's it. Guys, simply put, if you have a Canon system and you want to get into this kind of photography, do yourself a favor, rent this lens, and you'll say the same word I said, wow, when you look at the images. Anyway, guys, that's it. Those are my thoughts on the Canon RF 200 to 800 F6.3-F9 IS USM Lens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you have any concerns on the lens? I'll try to answer those for you. With that, guys, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. Take care, stay safe, and I will chat to you soon. Bye.